use it. Now, some of these people are misusing it, and some of them haven't figured out how to use it, but what they've done is made sure that you don't use it. That's how they stay in charge of you, by making sure that you don't use your power. Now, there's some things that I want to give you guys. Let's start first with your level or lack of economic power. And this is something I need to work on for myself. So many people have been involved in different churches or whatever followings that you're into. And I'm going to say Christian because most melanin-rich people are into the Christianity, albeit there are a bunch of them that, got into the Mohammedism or so-called Islamism or whatever people want to call it. But in the church, you have been told that you need to tithe 10% of your wealth to the church. That, based on my research, is wrong. That is why so many melanin-rich people are, for lack of better words, what they call poor and broke and don't have the money. And the money is not everything, but for some people it is. So I'm going to tell you one of the fastest ways to build up your money. Instead of giving this church, which really works for Rome, 10% off the top of your gross income, whatever that may be, what you are supposed to do is 10% of everything that you make off the top. Let's say you have a job and you get a check. As you know, the feds take a certain amount. The state takes a certain amount. SDI or Social Security Disability Income takes a certain amount. Everybody's got their hand in the stuff before you even see it. Half of these agencies work for the church and the queen who works for the church, so the church already gets their 10% before you even look at it. Once you cash your so-called check or acquire whatever your source is, the first 10% off the top is supposed to go to you. So if you make $1,000, and I'm just, taking a low ball figure here, if you get a check that's $1,000, the first $100, you're supposed to take it and throw it in a safe or buy a bunch of silver with it or something like that and throw it somewhere and never look at it again. It's there. Now, for those of you that want to put it in the bank, fine, but you take your first 100, that's yours, you bury it, you never look back at it again. That is the tithing. You tithe it to and for yourself first, okay? Now, once you are done, when you get through doing your 10%, then you can go with the rent and the gas bill and the electric bill and the water bill and all the other bills, and whatever is left over, because this is how most people work. They pay all their bills first, and whatever is left over is like, oh, okay, this is what I have left. I'm going to go buy me something nice. I'm going to go to a movie. I'm going to go out to dinner. You take the 10% off the top, stash it, because it becomes what you call magnet money. It is a magnet to draw more to it, but you never use it, never touch it, never spend it. If you're going to have a hard time with 10%, start with 5%. But what you do is you sit that to the side, never look at it. After you pay all your bills, then whatever's left over, after you've paid everybody else, you can go, okay, this is what I have left over. I'm going to buy myself something nice. I'm going to take myself out to dinner. I'm going to, whatever. That's how that goes. You don't give 10% to the church. You give 10% to yourself, but most people don't comprehend what is meant by so-called church, okay? Now, this is something else that you're going to have to comprehend. There's a reason why melanin-rich people, particularly in the United States, are really hampered from moving about freely in the daylight, or at night for that matter. If melanin-rich people, especially my brothers, get out in the sun, and I'm going to speak for Southern California because that's where I've experienced it the most, you barely get from one block to another block before the police are rolling up on the brother going, hey, where you going? Ain't none of your damn business, but this is how they do, my brothers. A brother can be sitting there on the bench at a bus stop and have the police roll up, hey, how you doing today? What's going on? Your parents taught you not to speak to strangers. Are these or are they not strangers? So if it ain't those fools, then you can't get where you're going because you got to go through these Bloods or you got to go through these Crips or you got to go through the SAs or whatever the case may be. But people keep hampering your ability to move about freely. If brothers go to the park and want to hang out, then people come screwing around with them and not leaving them alone. And this is the reason why. If you are out in the sun during the day and you're melanin rich, even if you're not melanin rich, but it's especially true when you're melanin rich, if you're out during the day, you are getting a certain thing called serotonin released. That's one of the things the sun does. Now, let me back up a little bit here. There's something called a vitality molecule. The vitality molecules look kind of like a heart, not a Valentine-shaped heart, but the heart that's inside your chest. You know, they're kind of the shape of a heart, and they're these, going back into spirit again, they're these spiraling, spinning things, and they are the whole spectrum of colors of light. And the sun beams them down. The sun rains them down on the world. Now, if in fact you can get out there the first thing in the morning, not that the sun isn't radiating. The sun is always radiating these vitality molecules. But this is the deal. The first thing in the morning, a lot of people are still not up and out of what you call bed yet. They're still asleep or showering or trying to get ready to get their day started. And this explains what my son, and I don't think he understood even what he was doing. There was something about being outside at 4:30 in the morning for my son. Because like he said, Mama, you know, I'd be like, why do you go out every morning and stand out at the gate like that? Because it's quiet. You know, you barely hear birds, because Los Angeles is a noisy, noisy place. And all of that noise and all of those different frequencies and resonances are abrasive to your whole energy field. Even neighbors upstairs bouncing around too much. All that shit is abrasive to your energy field. However, now I comprehend why he would almost never be hungry. If you are out in the sun and you are melanin rich and you are out there at the first thing in the morning when the sun first starts peeking out, somewhere between 4:30 in the morning and, say, 6:30 in the morning, you are going to get not only the silence, but you're going to get the vast majority of these vitality molecules that are being rained down from the sun. Now, there are people that are melanin deficient that go out and they do what they call sun gazing. They stand out on the ground with no shoes on their feet, and they look out at the sun. If you're melanin rich, you don't have to do that, because melanin-rich people, as I've said before, you have all these spiraling melanocytes that make your skin dark. Those are eyeballs. They're looking at the sun, just being in the sun. So not only do you have the sunlight hitting your forehead, but you also have it, you know, which is going to impact your pituitary gland. You also have it hitting your crown, which is going to impact your pineal gland, but you also have it hitting your skin, which is all these other eyeballs that are sucking in these vitality molecules, and you will be just like the tree, because melanin-rich people are walking, living trees, for lack of a better word. Just like the trees take carbon dioxide, absorb that in, transmute, transmogrify that, and spit it back out as clean oxygen for breathing. It is the same thing for melanin-rich people. You're out in the sunlight. You will do just like the trees. You will be fed directly by the sun the way trees are. So if you can be out in the sunlight the first thing in the morning, and you're melanin rich, which is one of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing with these prisoners now. But if you're out there, you're going to absorb these vitality molecules, which are in an abundance in the morning. The reason there are not as many of them out there as the day goes on is because after a certain time of day, the children are out on their way to school, the parents are out on their way to work, you know, crossing guards are out, the police are, everybody's out. The more people that come out into the sun during the day, the more vampires you have sucking in all the vitality molecules. So if you can get out there before everybody else, you get first dibbies. And because you're melanin rich, you get more of them than other people. But even if you don't, you're still going to get them. You just don't get first crack at it. Now, this is the whole why our people should stop trying to be lighter than a brown paper bag. You gave up one of the most powerful things you ever had, trying to become light-skinned. And I'm not beating up or attacking people that are light-skinned. I'm saying they may or may not have comprehended the science, but somebody has caused you to lose your science, which severs a certain amount of your spiritual connection. Now, again, being melanin deficient or being light-skinned or so-called white does not mean you can't do this stuff. It just means you have to do a little more work to get these things going for you. Now, one of the things I noticed, this is what I was going to say back to the whole thing with the prisons. A lot of the prisons, and I was watching some PBS documentary years ago, and I didn't see, I saw then what they were doing, but I didn't know about the vitality molecules then. I think I learned about these probably in 2004, maybe 2003. At any rate, most of the people that are working on building these prisons now, they're building them with no windows so the inmates don't see any sun. They're attempting to build the prisons now, and they use, and it was an amazement to me, this is some very secret stuff, but they let these cameras in for this particular PBS expose. Most of the people working on this were melanin rich, and I'm like, damn, you get melanin rich people out here to try to come up with the best way to put light cold people on lockdown in these prisons. They're trying to make these prisons such that even the walls will impact vibration. They're trying to even stop niggas from astral projecting out of these puppies. I'm like, gee whiz, you know, and it's getting to the point where it's like, oh, no workouts, no sunlight. You only get to come out for 30 minutes a day or an hour a day, and part of that involves your shower. So they're trying to make sure that melanin-rich people don't get it. The thing is, however, because you're melanin-rich, you can't be stopped, because vitality molecules in sunlight, like any type of light and sound and frequency. Remember, light code or light is another type of resonance of frequency. Melanin-rich people are going to get it because it's coming through the damn air. It'll come through the walls, through the windows. It'll come through the air, okay? But I'm saying if you can get out in the sunlight, it's better for you. Now, the more of us I can get on this page, we'll go into the whole, as Bobby Hemmett would always say, they don't keep messing around with us and niggas going to go online. And that's what's going to happen. Now, we're talking about what they call the critical mass or the 100th monkey theory. I don't think, for niggas, I don't think, it might not take more than 10 monkeys. And I don't like using monkeys because, you know, people always accuse us of being monkeys. One thing we aren't is monkeys, okay? Now, there's something that I'm going to need for you guys to work on, and that is the increase of tryptophan, especially if you're somebody that is in a position where you can't really get your sunlight. Because if you cannot get as many of these vitality molecules as you need, you can get some of this through tryptophan. And you're going to get your tryptophan through bananas, which is why they don't want, they embarrass niggas about eating bananas. Oh, you look like a monkey because you're eating bananas. Oh, really? See, they knew what they were doing, just like they didn't want you eating watermelon, trying to make fun of you for eating watermelon. There's a reason why you need these types of things. But bananas, avocado, cashews, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and another thing about pumpkin seeds, if you eat enough of them, that's the fastest way of getting rid of tapeworms. A tapeworm is a very difficult creature to get rid of because it locks into your, it bites down into your system, and it locks itself in, usually in such a way that even if part of it breaks off, it'll just grow the tail again. And these things can grow long enough to be 10 feet long, and that's, if you've ever been in a pool, that'll let you know just how deep, how long these things can get. If you see a 2- or 3-story building, that will give you some idea how long a tapeworm can grow inside your body. But pumpkin seeds are something that tapeworms love these things, and so do you, but they're loaded with vitamin and nutrition. So if you eat enough of these pumpkin seeds, eventually, I don't know how many people have seen a man sitting on a sofa just knocking back beers. After a while, that fool's belly gets bigger and bigger, and he has to loosen up his pants. It's the same with a tapeworm. You consume enough of these pumpkin seeds, after a while, that sucker will get so full, he'll just have to kind of like loosen up his grip and damn near let go. If you get enough of those in your system, you can start pooping those things out. Now, there are some other things you may want to take to use, and I know I'm probably grossing some folks out, and I'm not trying to do that. That was just a sidebar.